so much. I'm getting some yeses. So a lot of yeses. Great. So good afternoon and welcome. I'm absolutely thrilled to have you join us today for Prompt Power Up Unlock AI's Potential. So my name is Leandra McGriff, and I'm the Education Strategy Lead here at Infosys Foundation USA. And before coming to Infosys, I was an educator for 7 years. And then I entered the edtech space where I had the wonderful opportunity of teaching computer programming to teachers and computer science so that they could bring it into their classroom with confidence. And now I have the privilege of being at Infosys Foundation USA, where I can use my skills to help here, and it's just been such an honor and a privilege. Our mission is to expand access to computer science and digitally upskill learners nationwide. All right, without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. So today's session is special because we're not just talking about AI as another tech tool to add to your toolkit. We're talking about fundamentally changing how you approach those teaching tasks that used to take hours. Think about it. How much time do you spend every week creating differentiated materials, writing individualized feedback, crafting parent communications? What if you could do all of that in minutes instead of hours? Here's what I want you to understand right from the start. The secret isn't in having access to AI. Most of us already have that. The secret is in knowing how to talk to it effectively. And once you learn the language, once you master the art of prompt engineering, you unlock possibilities you didn't even know existed. And that's exactly what we're going to master today. By the end of this hour, you won't have just theoretical knowledge, but you'll also have concrete strategies you can use tomorrow in your classroom. You'll walk away with templates, frameworks, and real examples that you can adapt immediately. All right, so let me give you a quick roadmap of our journey today. So we'll start by demystifying how AI actually works. And I promise, no computer science degree required. Understanding the basics of how AI processes our requests will immediately make you better at prompting. And then we'll dive into what I call the anatomy of powerful prompts. Now, if you joined us for a session a couple of weeks ago, you've already been introduced to the CTFC framework: context, task, format, and constraints. Today, we're going much deeper. We'll not only review this foundation that we explored a couple of weeks ago, but we'll also explore the nuances within each element that can take your prompts from good to exceptional. And think of it as the difference between knowing the recipe and understanding why each ingredient matters. After we strengthen that foundation, we'll move into advanced prompting techniques and really go beyond CTFC. So please hang in there if you've already had this previous session a couple of weeks ago. So these are the techniques that will genuinely make you the AI expert in your building. We'll practice with real classroom scenarios because I believe in learning by doing, and you'll have multiple opportunities to test these techniques yourself. Throughout it all, we'll focus on practical, classroom-tested applications that solve real problems you face every day. Whether this is your first time learning about AI prompting or you're ready to level up your existing skills, you'll walk away with immediately actionable strategies. Now I'm going to pause here and try to fix my mic, because I've had some feedback on that in the chat. Hang on one second. I'm going to put the volume up. Let me know if that's better. All right, so let's continue.
Perfect, Andrea. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, James. Thank you for coming in. So before we dive into the how-to of prompting, let's spend just a few minutes understanding what's actually happening when we interact with AI. And don't worry, I'm going to make this super practical, not theoretical. AI is like having the world's most sophisticated GPS system for education. It has every possible route to every learning destination mapped out. But if you just say, take me somewhere educational, it doesn't know where to go. It needs your starting point, where your students are now. It needs your destination, what you want them to learn. It needs your constraints. how much time you have, what roads are closed, what resources you don't have. The more specific your input, the better your route. And just like GPS, it can instantly recalculate when you need to differentiate or adjust for different learners. So when you type in a prompt, the AI isn't actually thinking or understanding in the way humans do. Instead, it's recognizing patterns from the billions of text examples it's been trained on and predicting what response would best match your request. It's pattern recognition on an incredible scale. And I'm going to, let's see, I think you guys can still see me. I'm in the bubble above. Okay, if you can't see me, let me know. All right, when you understand that, it's pattern matching rather than truly comprehending, you realize why specificity is so crucial. A vague prompt like, help with my lesson, gives the AI thousands of possible patterns to match. It might give you an elementary lesson when you teach high school, a lecture when you wanted an activity, or a 90-minute plan when you have 20 minutes. But a specific prompt like, create a 15-minute hands-on activity for 7th graders to discover the relationship between circumference and diameter using everyday objects. Now that narrows it down to exactly what you need. This understanding is fundamental because once you grasp that AI needs specific patterns to match, you'll naturally start providing better instructions. You'll stop being frustrated when vague prompts give you generic results, and you'll start crafting prompts that get you exactly what you need on the first try. So this is why prompt engineering isn't just a nice skill to have, it's absolutely the difference between AI being a frustrating toy that gives you more work to fix its outputs and AI being a transformative teaching assistant that genuinely saves you hours every week. Now let's get into the meat of prompt engineering. I'm going to share with you a simple framework that is so powerful, you'll use it for every AI interaction you have from this day forward, I hope. I call it the CTFC framework, Context, Task, Format, Constraints. These four elements will transform every single interaction you have with AI. Again, if you were with us during our previous webinar, please hang in there. This will serve as a nice review and we will go over more advanced techniques very soon. So let me break down each element and I'll show you exactly how they work with real classroom examples. So context is your setup. It's painting the full picture for the AI. Think of context as everything the AI needs to know to understand your situation. This includes who your students are, what they already know, what challenges they face, what resources you have available, and what environment you're working in. Basically, it's the 5 W's: who, what, when, where, and why. Now, let's say you need help with a writing assignment. A prompt without context would be, give me a writing prompt about courage. Now, that's going to get you something generic that might be completely inappropriate for your students. But if you look at the screen, you can see the context here. I will read over it quickly. It says, I teach 9th grade English to a diverse class of 28 students. We're 3 weeks into the school year, so they're still getting comfortable with each other. That's like a lot of background. About a third of my students are English language learners, and the class includes students reading anywhere from 5th to 11th grade level. There's some differentiation there. We just finished reading The Outsiders and spent a week discussing themes of loyalty, social class divisions, and how circumstances shape identity. The students really connected with the rivalry between the greasers and the socks, and many saw parallels to cliques in our school. So you see how much richer that is. You've given the AI a classroom to visualize, students to consider, and prior knowledge to build upon. So task is our next one, and it is your specific request. What exactly do you want the AI to do? This is where precision matters enormously. Don't just state a general category. Be explicit about the action you want. Continuing our example, instead of giving me a writing prompt about courage, your task might be create a personal narrative writing assignment where students reflect on a time they witnessed or demonstrated moral courage in their lives. connecting their experience to themes from the novel. Now, you notice the specificity. You're not just asking for a prompt, you're asking to create something specific, a personal narrative assignment with particular requirements. The key here is using strong action verbs: create, analyze, simplify, differentiate. Be explicit about the cognitive level you're targeting. Now, the next one is format, and it determines how you want your output to be structured. And this is where you can save yourself tons of formatting time. Whatever format would be most useful to you, ask for it explicitly. For our writing assignment, you might specify present this as a one-page handout with the following sections: an engaging title, a brief connection to our novel discussion as an intro, 3 to 4 guiding questions to help students brainstorm, and a simple 4-point rubric. So, using these format, you could just as easily ask it for a slideshow presentation, a student worksheet, or even a script. And the AI can format things in any way that serves your needs: tables, bullet points, even as a game or interactive activity, which is a really fun one to try. And the last one is constraints. And these are your guardrails, and they're incredibly important. These include any limitations or requirements that will make the output actually usable in your classroom. Now, excuse me, constraints might seem limiting, but they actually make AI more creative and helpful because they provide focus. So for our writing assignment, we could use these constraints. Keep the entire handout under 300 words so it fits on one page. Use vocabulary appropriate for ninth graders, avoiding academic jargon. Include at least one sentence acknowledging that acts of courage can be small and personal, not just grand gestures. The assignment should be completable in 45-minute class period with 15 minutes for brainstorming and 30 minutes for writing. Now, we can keep it to one constraint, but the more, the better. In this example, we have 5 constraints. Now, let me show you the complete transformation. So we started with, give me a writing prompt about courage. And using CTFC, that becomes, we have the context. I teach ninth grader English to a class of diverse students with reading levels from 5th to 11th grade. We finish the outsiders, discuss moral courage, blah, blah, blah. Task, create a personal narrative writing assignment. So we have the words create, reflect on their own experiences with moral courage, connecting to themes from the novel. And then we have format, present a one-page handout with an engaging title, and finally constraints, keep it under 300 words total, use ninth grade appropriate vocabulary. And once you put something like that in, the difference in what you'll receive is astronomical. One gets you a random writing prompt that you'll have to heavily modify. The other gets you a ready to print handout perfectly tailored to your specific students and situation. And here's the beautiful thing. Once you start thinking in CTFC, it becomes automatic. You'll find yourself naturally including these elements because you'll quickly see how much better your results become. And as you see here, you see a cat tackling a flying chicken. And this is just a nifty little mnemonic so that it will remind you of the framework, context, task, format, constraints. So cats tackle flying chickens. All right, enough of me jabbering. Now it's your turn. We're going to do what I call a prompt makeover challenge, and this is where the learning really happens. I want you to create something powerful using our CTFC framework. Once you finish, post it in the chat, and I will put it on the screen for everyone to see, and I will review it live. Now, take 3 minutes, open your AI tool of choice, ChatGPT, Claude, Gemini, Copilot, whatever you prefer. Craft your improved prompt using CTFC, type it in and see what you get. And don't worry about making it perfect. This is practice. So I'm going to go ahead and put the timer up on the screen, and then we'll go ahead and see it. And I see that there are some questions in the chat, so we'll take a look at it here. So here is the timer. We're going to set it for 3 minutes. And I'll let you guys work on that. And then when you're done, I will post a few of them on the screen so we can take a look at what you guys have done. So I got, what are the best AI chat boxes for teachers? Is there any one you prefer? What are your best tips to make sure everything we are getting from the chat box is accurate? Are there certain things to look for to tell if students are using AI when they are not supposed to? Very good question. So for the first question, the best AI chat boxes for teachers. It's the one that you enjoy using. There are so many different ones, and I think um, one of the ones at the bottom, we had another teacher who asked, I'd also like to know which one is best for math and computer science teachers. So I would say for math and computer science, Claude would probably be your best bet because it's trained on computer programming and math extensively. And it really takes that to the next level. So I would definitely recommend Claude for that. For others like English, I would recommend Gemini. It's really good at providing text and language. For something short and punchy like activities for your classroom, I would recommend ChatGPT. So those are the ones that I prefer. And these are just ones that are widely available. There are so many AI applications that are available for teachers that are created just for teachers. And I can provide an email and explain that in a little while, but they are definitely some out there just for teachers to use that are really, really helpful. And some of them are paid and some of them your school has to pay for them, but the ones we are talking about today are the ones that are available for all teachers. So when it comes to there's a lot of ethical things that we have to consider to make sure things are accurate. You can there's a few things that you can do. Perplexity is one that is priding itself on using as much accurate information as possible because it's a research based AI. So if you want to have it double checked by Perplexity, it actually uses sources and you can use research mode for it to use specific research sources there. So that is something to consider. And also, you can have other AIs check each other to see if it is actually accurate or not. So, those are just a few ideas. This conversation can continue for a while. We are at our 3 minute section. Our 3 minutes are up. Let's go and see what you guys have here. Okay. So I see we have one from Jennifer. I'm going to post it on the screen. Um, 1 second here. I'm going to put us up. Okay. I'm going to add it to the broadcast here. Okay, so from Jennifer, maybe you can see it on the screen. So she says, I'm looking at context here. I'm a media specialist and I'm teaching grade 6 media literacy. Very good. So we have some good context. We have been in school for 5 weeks. The topic this week is deep fakes. Students have no prior knowledge of what a deep fake is. I need an introductory background building lesson for 5 30-minute classes that includes vocabulary, open and questioning, partner and independent work, and hands on activities. Most students are below grade level in reading and require step by step instructions. Everyone speaks English. Very nicely done. And I really love the constraints here because you said for 5 30-minute classes, and that is a really important constraint for the AI to have. So, very well done here. And I would only say to just be a little bit more specific. That specificity is important. So when you say classes that include vocabulary, open and questioning, independent work, and hands on activities, um, be specific about how much you want, how much vocabulary, how many open end questions, things like that that will just give the AI just a teeny bit more specificity there. But other than that, this is fantastic. I really like it. Let's look at a couple more. So Amanda Fisher, let's see. I teach fourth grade computer science. They are using code.org to create a game with event handlers. Can you create a prompt to have them reflect on the game they made? I would like students to think about what works well in their game and what changes they might need to make. Very good. I really like this. Very nicely done, Amanda. So I would say just for a little bit of some tweaks here, a few tweaks. The constraints, maybe just a few more constraints. There aren't any constraints here. Um, and perhaps you could say what grade levels, what levels your students are on, because even though you teach fourth grade, there might be some differentiation here on what levels the students are. Some may be more familiar with it, with coding, some may be less familiar, so actually giving that differentiation there could be very helpful. Very nicely done. I love this. All right, one more. Kelly. So students in grade 7 are learning about decision trees. They recently learned that there are 3 types of machine learning models and created a Google Teachable Machine Learning Model. Very nice. I love this. Their intro to decision trees included an example of classifying animals. Create an activity for students to make a decision tree that can be completed on paper within 15 minutes. The format of the activity sheet should be a large area for drawing the decision trees. Students need time to test their decision trees and will need an example test data to see if their model works. Very good, excellent. Beautifully, very well done. For the constraints, again, constraints are important because if not, the reason I keep mentioning constraints is because the AI can just go off and do whatever it wants to do if we don't give it enough constraints. So I would say to be a little bit more specific here on, I think I lost my thought. Be a large area for a drawing piece. Oh, the amount of minutes for each section. So if you wanted to provide more information on the sections that you would like for them to complete, not just be open about decision trees. There's a little bit more information on decision trees that you can put on how AI models learn from decision trees, etc. So just put in a few, like, tell it 3 minutes on this, the introduction, 5 minutes on the actual activity. Be very specific about how much time you would like to spend. You did say 15 minutes, but give it some more constraints there. Other than that, fantastic job, Kelly. Everyone did such a great job. Thank you guys so much. I really appreciate you guys actually spending the time to do this. We are going to move on. We have a lot to cover today, so I'm going to pop back up on the screen with our presentation and we will get going
Hey,
here.
Leandra, real quick, while you're pulling that up, we have a question from Samantha asking about the best chatbot for specifically special ed, if you have any insight into that particular.
Ooh, for special ed. That is something honestly that I am still looking into. Um, I used to be when I was a teacher, I did ESL and I also did special ed for a little while. And I understand the importance of having their needs met. And so I would definitely look into that and get back to you because you can use a lot of the AIs that we mentioned to create specific materials for them. However, getting it to be exactly what you need may be a little bit of an issue. So that's something that I'll definitely look into and hopefully we'll have an answer for in the future. All right. So let's go ahead and continue here. Um, so this is really the power of CTFC. You're not just getting generic educational content anymore. You're getting material specifically designed for your unique teaching situation. Now that you've mastered the CTFC framework, let's level up with some advanced techniques that will genuinely make you an AI power user. These are the techniques that will have your colleagues asking, how did you create that so quickly? Okay, so role-based prompts. This is one of my favorite techniques because it completely transforms the voice and perspective of the AI's response. When you assign AI a specific role or persona, everything changes. The vocabulary, the examples, the emotional tone, even the type of information it includes. But here's the secret that makes this really powerful. Don't just assign any role. Think creatively about what perspective would most likely engage your students or best serve your teaching goal. So let me show you what I mean. Say you're teaching about the Revolutionary War, Instead of asking AI to explain the causes of the Revolutionary War, why don't you try this? You could say, you are a merchant in colonial Boston in 1775. Your ships travel between England and the colonies. Explain how the increasing British tensions and new British policies are affecting your business, your family, and your community. So, one last thing you could say is to include your personal conflicts about loyalty versus liberty. So this is an interesting prompt that can really help students kind of understand what life was like and really get their imagination going. And the next one, for a science class studying the immune system, you could say, you are a rookie white blood cell on your first day of patrol in the bloodstream. Narrate your training, what threats you're looking for, how you communicate with other immune cells, and describe your first encounter with an invading bacteria. Use terminology a new recruit would learn, but explain it as part of your experience. The role shapes everything. It turns dry facts into engaging narratives. It makes abstract concepts concrete. And most importantly, it creates content that students actually want to read. Okay, so now we're going to look at step-by-step instructions, and this technique is about breaking complex requests into a sequence. And it's incredibly powerful for creating comprehensive lesson materials. So instead of asking for everything at once in a giant prompt, you guide the AI through each component. So here's how this works. Instead of saying, create a lesson on photosynthesis, you break it down. Step one, create an attention grabbing opening that will make students curious about how plants eat. Step two, develop an analogy comparing photosynthesis to something familiar to fifth graders. Step three, create three checking for understanding questions of increasing difficulty. By breaking it down, the AI thoughtfully develops each component rather than rushing through a generic outline. Each step gets the attention it deserves. Now, progressive scaffolding. So, this is about having an actual conversation with AI. It's about building complexity gradually. So, you start simple and layer on requirements with each exchange. This is particularly powerful when you're not quite sure what you want the final product to look like. So, here's an example conversation flow. What were the main factors that led to the fall of the Roman Empire? You wait, AI responds, and then provides the list. Then you respond, take the military challenges you mentioned, and create a map-based activity showing the pressure from different barbarian groups on Roman borders. You wait, and AI creates the mapping activity. Then you respond, now design a simulation where students play Roman senators who must allocate limited resources between defending borders, maintaining infrastructure, and keeping citizens happy. AI develops the simulation game. Each prompt builds on the last. You're collaborating and conversing with the AI. This is pretty incredible. You're refining and deepening the content with each exchange. This often leads to much richer, more nuanced materials than trying to get everything in one shot. And lastly, for our advanced techniques, we have few shot learning. So this is where you teach the AI your personal style by providing examples. Now, this is absolutely golden for maintaining consistency in your classroom communications and materials. So let's say you want AI to write parent emails in your voice. So instead of just asking for a parent email, you do this. I need to write a positive parent email. Here are two examples of my previous emails. And guys, just look at the emails on the screen here. I'm not going to read them both. I'm not going to read both examples, but you can screenshot it or look at the presentation we'll send you later. But I'm going to give the AI two examples of writing in my own voice. And then I tell the AI, now write a similar email about Alex, who helped a struggling classmate understand fractions today. The AI will match your warm tone, your specific structure, your sign-off style, everything. This works for feedback, comments, newsletter items, assignment instructions, anything where you have a particular voice you want to maintain. And these four techniques, role-based prompts, step-by-step instructions, progressive scaffolding, and few-shot learning, They aren't just party tricks, they're practical tools that solve real classroom challenges and save enormous amounts of time. Okay, let's do another hands-on activity. And this time we're going to focus specifically on role-based prompts because they have so much potential for engagement. So I'm going to give you guys another 3 minutes, but during this 3 minutes, I'm going to go over get some of your creative juices flowing. So your challenge is to create a role-based prompt that brings your subject to life in an unexpected way. But here's what I want you to really think about. Don't go for the obvious choice. Push yourself to find a perspective that will make your students see content differently. So let me share some thought starters to get you going. Instead of having AI be Albert Einstein explaining relativity, um, what if it's a photon of light traveling through space, experiencing time dilation firsthand? Or instead of a mathematician explaining the Pythagorean theorem, what if it's an ancient Egyptian architect frantically trying to make sure the pyramid corners are perfectly square without modern tools? The key is finding a perspective that naturally incorporates the information you need to teach, but presents it in a way that creates emotional connection or narrative interest. So think about what would surprise your students, what would make them laugh, what would make them lean in with curiosity. You could use perspectives from objects like the last pencil in the classroom explaining the writing process, or microscopic perspectives like a carbon atom narrating its journey through the carbon cycle, or even historical objects like Globe Theater sharing backstage gossip about Shakespeare's original performances. Okay, so I'm going to give you guys 1 more minute to create your role-based prompts since I've probably talked for two, and then we will go from there. If there's any questions, I will try to answer them very quickly. And let's go ahead and start the timer. All right, so we have one in the chat. Let's see if there's any more. Any more role-based prompts, anyone? Any objects, anything from class that you would like to turn into a prompt? I actually had a teacher do a lawnmower, which I thought was really interesting, but she got a pretty incredible result. So just curious with what you guys come up with. Okay. So I'm going to put the one that we have on the screen here. Thank you, Jennifer. Oh, I have a couple more. So, Jennifer, I am clickbait and I want you to explain how you are attempting to trick people to click on you. I love that. Very nice. Excellent job. All right, another one. I am the internet and I want you to explain to me how you work like I am a 5-year-old. Very nice. Ooh, Anastasia, you are Mark Zuckerberg and you are teaching ninth grade computer science class. Explain why do we use functions in coding? Very good. Kessia, you are a reluctant character in a multiplayer video game. Explain to a group of high school students why it's important to include clear rules in a video game. Interesting perspective. Noelle, um, let's see here. Noelle, I think I just lost you there. Oh, please take the perspective of a third grade student and explain how life at school and life at home changed after electricity was used to light a light bulb, and what hopes do they have for their future? Interesting. And I'm going to do one more here. I need to teach kindergarten and first grade students the basics of how a computer works on the inside. Can you write a letter to my students from the point of view of a computer? Tell us what is happening inside of you. Ooh, kindergarten. Yes. Oh, one more. Create a summary from the perspective of a medieval trebuchet about how it was constructed and used. And Candy, one more, as the moth from the first computer bug, described what it was like in the computer room with Grace Hopper. Lovely. These are fantastic, everyone. Very nicely done. I absolutely love these. There is so much you can do with this creative role playing. The computer can give you so many great responses, and your students will have an amazing time actually learning and having a few laughs in between and really getting to engage with the content at a completely different level. All right, so now we are going to continue here. Um, we're going to get a little bit more practical. So I want to share specific ways you can use these prompting techniques to reclaim hours of your week starting tomorrow. So I know every teacher in here has had that moment where you're staring at your lesson plan on Sunday night thinking, this is perfect for my middle group, but what about Sarah, who's still struggling with basic comprehension? And what about Marcus, who finished this type of work in elementary school? The reality is, differentiation is one of those things we all know we should do more of, but honestly, it's exhausting. When you've already planned for 5 different subjects and grading papers until 9 p.m., the thought of creating 3 versions, oh my, I'm not on the screen. Hang on one second. My PowerPoint is not on the screen. So sorry, everyone. I'm so sorry. Thank you for listening so attentively, though. So, where was I? Instant differentiation. Uh, I think the thought of creating 3 versions, yeah, for every handout feels impossible. But here's what I've discovered, and this is going to change your planning game completely. Instead of spending 2 hours rewriting worksheets and creating different versions of the same content, you can literally do it in 5 minutes. And I'm going to show you how. So you can look at the template on the screen. I'm not going to read it, I'm just going to walk us through it. So you take whatever you're working with. It could be a science article about ecosystems, a chapter from your novel study, or even a social studies reading about a war, and you use this exact template here. The magic happens when you ask for exactly what you need: simplified vocabulary and shorter sentences for your struggling readers, grade level appropriate for your middle group, and advanced complexity with extension ideas for your high achievers. But here's the key: you specified that all 3 versions need to maintain the same core concepts. You're not dumbing anything down or leaving anyone out of the real learning. And for your struggling readers, ask for the vocabulary support boxes right there on the page. For your advanced kids, request those higher level thinking questions that connect to bigger themes. Suddenly, your kid Marcus isn't just finishing early, he's diving deeper into the content. Okay, so now let's talk about assessment, because we all know that creating good formative assessments is an art form. You want to check for understanding at different cognitive levels, but crafting those questions that actually assess what you think they're assessing, that's the tricky part. Here's your solution: be ridiculously specific about what you want. Ask for exactly 10 questions with a precise breakdown: 2 recall questions that test the basic facts, 3 comprehension questions that check if they can explain the concept, 3 application questions that see if they can use it in a new situation, and 2 analysis questions for that higher order thinking. And then what the game changer really is that you're asking for point values that total 100, and throw in there a rubric that clearly shows what proficient versus developing understanding looks like for each question type. So what you get is a complete assessment that you know is really hitting all of the cognitive levels you want to measure. And so next, let's finally talk about professional parent communication. Now, I know we've all been there. Something happens in class, you need to reach out to parents, and you're sitting there trying to strike that perfect balance between professional and approachable, informative but not overwhelming. Whether it's a positive update, a concern, or just a regular check in, you can get a complete professional email by being specific about what you need. Ask it for under 150 words because, let's be honest, parents are busy too. And request that warm but professional tone, including one example of what actually happened, explain why it matters for their child's learning, and always end with an invitation for dialogue. So, what you get is a framework that you can personalize with the specific details, but the heavy lifting of finding that right tone and balance, that's done for you. The bottom line is these aren't just time savers, they're sanity savers. When you're specific about what you need, you get exactly what you can use immediately in your classroom. And remember that few shot learning technique that we discussed earlier? When you use that for to match your voice by basing it off of previous examples that you give it, it can really even take that to a whole nother level so it sounds just like you. Now, here's a crucial strategy. Let's build your prompt library. So every time you create a successful prompt, save it. Organize them by category: lesson planning, assessment, communication, differentiation, classroom management. Share them with your teaching team. Once you nail the perfect prompt for your needs and it's working for you, reuse it, modify it, share it, and remember, start small, but be consistent. Pick one task that currently drains your time. Maybe it's writing weekly newsletters, maybe it's creating practice problems, maybe it's differentiation. Master prompting for that one thing. Use it consistently for 2 weeks until it becomes natural. Then add another task to your AI workflow. Within a month, you'll be saving hours every week. So, as I conclude here, I just want to say the goal isn't to automate teaching, it's to automate the administrative and preparation tasks that keep you from actually teaching. Every minute you save on creating materials is a minute you can spend connecting with your students, providing individual support, or honestly, just breathing and remembering why you became an educator. So, I want to make sure you leave with absolute clarity about how to move forward. I'm going to go over some of the most important takeaways that will transform your teaching practice. At least I hope it does. I hope this is helpful. First and foremost, burn into your memory CTFC, context, task, formats, constraints. And remember, cats tackle flying chickens. Context sets the scene, task defines the specific action, format structures the output, and constraints provide the boundaries. All right. And I want you to try to remember that you are irreplaceable. No one can replace you. AI simply gives you more time to do what only you can do. It handles the repetitive tasks so you can focus on the more human elements of teaching. Third, quality prompting is a skill that improves with practice. Your first attempts might feel awkward. You might need to refine and retry, but that's perfectly normal and part of the learning process. Within a week of consistent use, you'll be crafting powerful prompts without even thinking about it. All right. And finally, just start small. Don't try to revolutionize everything and share it with your educators, your fellow educators. They need to learn how to bring this into their classroom to make their lives easier too. All right. So here's my challenge to you, and I want you to really commit to this. This week, use AI to reclaim 1 hour of your time, just 1 hour, so that you would have spent on administrative tasks or content creation. Then, and this is the important part, use that hour intentionally. Use it for something that fills your teaching soul. Have deeper conversations with students, create that creative lesson, or just walk, read a book, and remember why you became an educator in the first place. So, I know some of you may be a little skeptical or be feeling overwhelmed in this situation, and that's completely valid. Change is hard, and adding new tools takes energy. But every master teacher was once a beginner. So you don't have to be perfect. You don't have to revolutionize everything overnight. You just have to start and open your favorite AI tool and use the frameworks and then build momentum. Thank you guys for joining and for your incredible engagement throughout this session. Remember, you're not just learning to prompt AI, you're learning to amplify your impact as an educator. You're joining a movement of teachers who are reclaiming their time, reducing their stress, and rediscovering their joy in teaching. The future of education isn't about teachers versus technology. It's about teachers empowered by technology, using every tool available to create transformative learning experience for our students. You are the architects of that future. Go forth and prompt like pros. And remember, the Infosys Foundation is here to support your journey. Finally, I would like to give you a gift. It is a gift to you. This is the Springboard Digital Academy. We have this if you would like to dive deeper on advanced technical topics, and we have the Pathfinders Online Institute where you can find fun activities and lessons on AI and computer science. Please go ahead and use the QR code, but I think it's also in the chat as well. James is putting it in there. And thank you again and happy prompting. So if there's any questions, please feel free to put it in the chat. Thank you guys so much for coming. I really appreciate it. You guys were amazing and totally involved, and it just made me so happy. I am so happy that you guys were here, and thank you again. We will be sending a copy of this presentation in an email for a follow up for those who attended, and we're really happy that you guys were here. So I will wait to see if there's any questions, and let's
Yep. Thank you,
see.
Leandra. Just to reiterate what Leandra finished with, we will be sure to send the recording and the slides to everyone. But also please note that in some short time, these slides will be available on the Pathfinders Online Institute as a course, and we'll be sure to let you know once that is available. Additionally, in regards to the Tumblr, we will go back and look to see who was in the first session and this one who attended both, and we'll reach out to you, a random educator, and let you know of your winnings. And then on October, we will announce who won. And the same thing for the next month and after. If you attend both sessions of that month, you're eligible to win that free Tumblr. So we'll let that educator know, and thank you guys all again for attending.
Have a wonderful evening, everyone.
Hey, Amani, that is actually a great question. We haven't looked into that, but we can let you know, actually. I will follow up with you on that. That's a great point. And Sophie, I believe you have a question.